Hi everyone, Kent Larsen here from Smart House Electric. The Lotus, UWE Lotus, let's change a facial lamp holder on this guy. And so, fairly common issue. And here we are, of course, got to drop the acrylic, and then we're going to remove our plate here, our cover plate, by dragging out those little tabs there that will release. And then we got to take our filter glass off by pushing it off to one side, and then you can get it out. And so here, since the lamp is, in this case it was obviously burned, we'll just grab it with our hands, but normally that's an absolute no-no to grab these. But look at this, it's completely fried on one end. Sometimes you gotta go to look a little closer, but it's gotta be really nice, crisp, clean looking, both lamp holder and lamp. So in order to get in further, because we're going to be accessing from the top actually, so we need to get the top skin off. And so to do that, we need to take the end cap off, and there's 3 screws, one on each side like that, and one there on the inside. We got to lift the acrylic a little bit to access it, and then the last one is right in the dead center, which is a smaller screw. We got that out. Look at that little guy, and now we can take the end cap off, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So when you close it back up again, once you have the 2 end caps off, make sure you didn't leave the filter glass inside. This is a nasty sound and an expensive ticket to break that filter glass. So we're going to be lightening up the canopy, and we don't want to be struggling with holding the weight down. So I tie down a bungee. You can use a piece of wire or something like that, just something to hold the canopy down with. And so then I release the rubber edges there from the top skin, just from lifting up a little bit, and then I drag the skin out of the groove just a little bit, by halfway on both sides, and then I create like a wave basically on the top skin, and that will make it pop out of the bottom there of that lens. And that is a very, very common point. And if you don't have a good trick like this, that skin can easily crack right around that emblem, the UWE emblem. I use the foam blocks a lot. If you have access to get some of those, I highly recommend it. Also as a knee pad, it just comes in handy for a lot of things. It's like this commercial, very sturdy foam. And so there's 4 screws holding down this first sheet metal plate that we're going to be removing entirely from the unit, like this. And then in this case here, this is the most difficult one. We're going to be removing the ceramic lamp holder in the very back, so you're going to have to release all the screws that you can see, but we're not going to remove that plate. We're just going to be lifting it up. And so in order to lift it up, the little brackets that was holding the end cap in the middle will have to be back. Those screws have to be backed out a little bit in order for the sheet metal plate to go past those screws. You might even have to remove them entirely. And so for that, as you saw, I used this little ratchet screwdriver kind of deal, and that's it. And then we can now move our foam block in underneath here. This, you could have this access, you'll be fine. You could replace the lamp holder, but for this video we needed room for both you and I, so we need room for that camera. So let's lift it a little up higher here. So let's move a little closer to the whole arrangement, our reflector, the back of the reflector. And there's a sheet metal thingy, basically, a chassis part that we have to remove that everything sits on. The ceramic lamp holder sits on it, and also our plunger, the glass sensor that goes out, that's spring loaded, and that whole arrangement has to be taken out. There's 4 screws. You remove those, and then you can lift it straight up like so, and turn that arrangement around, and now you can really work on the lamp holders. So it's a small Phillips tip. I would recommend if you can get a smaller screwdriver than the one I have there, just to show that it is possible with a length like that, but it's a bit of a struggle. So if you have something shorter, something smaller, uh, you can successfully use that. The little screws there, make sure you really hang on to them. They can be kind of hard to get something new from that'll fit exactly that. So on the very back one here, I always remove the igniter from that little bracket it sits on there in the back. And the reason is you want to make sure that you get a tight connection on the wires. And you can't see that all the way back there unless you take that igniter out. And so you really can see what's going on. So you don't tie down or screw down on the insulation of the wire. So let's take a look at that. You can see how it's charred here at the end, and it needs to be very clear and nice, just like this one. And so we'll chase the wire through the hole there and mount the screws. And yeah, and see, it's a little bit of a struggle with a screwdriver that size. A little bit, yeah. Alright. I guess I could have cut out a little bit here, but you're getting the 1-to-1 scale right here. Alright, moving along. And so now we can mount the wire into our igniter. And so you see how it's advantageous that you can see really what's happening in regards to that. And so we screw that down. Once we have that screwed down, at this point you could put this arrangement back down into mount it back and get the plunger down through the holes that is for it. And here you also make sure that it can run easily up and down. That's your safety if the glass breaks. Let's mount it back on. But what I was trying to say is that at this point you could close, not close up everything, but you could open up the acrylic, take the bungee off, open the acrylic, put a new lamp in, put the filter glass back on, turn the power back on the unit, and then test it first before you close all this up. But it's not that often that the igniter goes. It is so common that this lamp holder is the problem. So, but sure, you could do that. In this case here, I'm just going to show you. We're putting all the stuff back together, and here it can be a little bit of fun. You might have to adjust the sheet metal a little bit for it to be nice and go nicely back together. Just be patient to do a nice job, and once you have that in, you can put the screws back in. And another thing I'll advise is that you screw down the first plate nice and tight first before you bring this one in. You don't want both of them loose and start to get screws in on everything. That can cause a lot of hassle. And so, yeah, you want to really pay some attention to getting the skin just straight on and then you can get it into the middle first, and then you kind of get it into the groove, and then you go out to one side first and get it dropped down into the groove, and then you can get the other one. Once you have it down there, just hold on to it, and then you make your wave down so that it clicks back into the groove past that UWE lens. So all right. Well, so now we can remove the bungee and start to put our end caps back on. So we'll have to drop our acrylic for that. And let's put our end cap on. I always start from the outside to get it nice and snug on there, and then I tap it in the back. And you got to go a little bit higher than the top skin so you get the top skin underneath that end cap. And then I put the screw in the middle first. And then I take the outside screw, ending up with the inside one, because that one is a little bit more of a struggle. You certainly don't want to start out with that one, because you might push the end cap away from the tanning bed with that screw, and it becomes a real struggle. So that order is something that's very helpful. And here we have a double-ended R7 500 watt lamp, the clip-in lamp. And make sure you have something that you hold it with, or you don't put your fingers on it and you wedge it in there. Make sure you just lurk it back and forth, that you have it really nicely in between the two prongs. And now you can clean the glass on the inside first. That's what I do. Don't worry about the outside. Once you have it into place like that, you can clean the outside. And so you hold the tabs out there on that guy, and you can snap that back on and lift our acrylic up, and we are good to go. And we'll turn power on and test it, and that's how you do it. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more.